So we have just returned from not recording possibly the best stuff ever. So I think this is a little like when you go golfing and you waste all of your good starts on the driving range. Because I've only got like 5 good shots a year if I don't golf. So welcome to round two of the beginning of the Oppenheimer Who Is with Lindsey Mollenhauer. So Lindsey, again, apologies, similar to last, but how do most people know you?
It's probably because I do their hair, or I know someone who does their hair, or someone, they get their hair done in my salon or a salon I used to work in. So I own 11 Cherry Salon, downtown Des Moines on the west side.
You actually, for those who have not been following Oppenheimer as close as they should, you won our community award a few years ago for being the best community location, not yet laundering government money.
Oh,
You gave
yeah,
us a
I wasn't
projection
I
of a few
wasn't
months.
laundering government money at that time.
No subsidies yet, though.
No, I've been subsidized now. So
Oh man.
yeah, I know.
Well, I don't know if we get to actually do double winners anyway. So now you're just ineligible. Like every great winner on that one, you know.
I'm gonna have to go for another category next time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we haven't issued the ones for this year. We're still struggling with technology, um, but and we're also struggling with timeliness because that's sort of how we do it.
Mm,
We just run late.
me too.
So anyway, if you could wake up tomorrow, do anything, location, money, time, experiences, no matter, what would you do?
All right, I would be not in a yurt because we discussed previously that those suck, but maybe a teepee or a camper van in the middle of Marfa, Texas, which is a tiny little ranching town that got overtaken by artists in the 70s, and now it's one of the minimalist art capitals of the world. So I would be there, and I would just try to finish a book. That's what I'd be doing.
Reading or writing it?
Reading.
No, no. I mean, if everyone knows you from doing their hair, you might have some great stories.
Yeah, it's hell all, but well, okay. Yeah, actually now that you say that, um, yeah, let me consider that. I'll get back to you on that end of things. But just finishing a book would be a huge accomplishment. So, yeah, I'd like to set the bar really low.
What's the best book you haven't finished yet?
Probably Sapiens.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've been recommended that like 20 times and have not even started. So you've done better than I.
Mm. Well, I've got the book if you want to borrow it, and I also have the Audible, and
Oh yeah.
and it's been a while, and I still can't get into it, but it is good. It's not that the book is bad. It's wonderful. You'd love it.
Not finishing an Audible is a little like not being able to make it through like uh, NPR's like morning edition, right? And that is one of my challenges. I'll listen to it while I'm either riding a bike or doing the rowing machine or something, and just I never get it done. I don't know the last time I've actually finished morning edition.
Uh,
That is my book.
oh, yeah,
Close enough.
yeah.
If you could, so apart from making everything like Marfa,
Hmm.
if you could change the world, you had like three things where you could just like snap your fingers and it's different. Like, what three things would you do to change the world?
All right, so it'd be education, leadership, and then legalizing drugs. Mostly marijuana, maybe some other drugs. So So it solves a lot of fucking problems that we have. I mean, there's a huge racial divide in this country. We're wasting a lot of money on policing things that really don't need to be policed, and we're limiting a whole group of entrepreneurs. I mean, they're trying to make money, and I don't know. I don't think marijuana is all that dangerous, and I think there's studies to back that up, and perhaps some other drugs too. So I just think it's a huge waste of time and taxpayer money, and creating a lot of social fucking problems that we don't have. We shouldn't have to. shouldn't have to deal with anymore. So I would legalize marijuana and maybe some other drugs. That'd be my first thing. And then education. I don't think that we're doing a great job educating kids. Like, I don't think that people are like smart enough to vote, which is, I think that's a failure of the education system. So, I think the first thing would be to just dramatically increase teacher salaries, right? So if being a teacher, which is really one of the most important things you could do for society, right, is to educate young people. If it was one of the most sought after jobs in America, I think we'd get a lot better teachers. And the difference between a good and a bad teacher is quite important. And then I would decouple property taxes. So property taxes in that community fund the school. And so what we have is we have a poor community that gets shit funding for their school, and their school stays shitty, and the people in that community stay poor. So we need to do away with that, and every public school needs to be top notch. And then I would do mandatory, like, study abroad programs. Because when you are, maybe just for a month, not even a semester, but when you're completely out of your realm, as a young person, you learn two things. You learn, first of all, that, your parents aren't going to wipe your ass, or maybe this new family might wipe your ass in a different way, right? So you have to learn kind of like self-reliance, or you have to learn that you have to rely on your own kind of, your own smarts to kind of navigate a brand new situation, right? And then the second thing that happens, I think, is that you learn how to perspective shift, because you are surrounded by people who are nothing like you, or nothing like your family, nothing like your friends. And that's a really important thing to learn when you later, grow up and you have to have a job and you have to vote for someone. You need to know that there are different perspectives in the world, that your perspective is not reality. It's just one version of reality. And so it wouldn't even be a program where you'd have to go across the world. You just go across town to a family that doesn't look like you. I think that would be really important for students to experience. And and then I think current events should be an important part of every day, from probably a very young age. And you should be tested on current events and what you know about what's going on in the world right now. And I think there needs to be a greater emphasis on history and global history and real global history, not, the versions probably you and I grew up with. And also an emphasis on debate, because when you have debate teaches you how to think, right? So it teaches you how to hold multiple perspectives on a certain situation. You can argue for and against a topic at the same time. I think you end up with a more well-rounded base of knowledge, and you also understand when a future problem or situation arises, you can jump over to the other side easier and learn how to think properly without just getting fucking tunnel vision, which is, I think, what we have now. So anyway, that brings us to leadership, which I think, you have, liberal and conservative, great separation between those two sides, and it's getting more polarized. And I don't think any of our leaders are really that qualified. Well, I mean, there's quite a few that are qualified, but it used to be that our leadership in this country, and other countries maybe too, they were smart. They were some of the smartest people. that we could find. And now it's just whoever got the most money, an ethic is like a separation of church and state. And I think we need to think about, a separation of corporations and state in that same way. And I don't know what the solution, you probably have better ideas than I do about this, but I think we've got to change the way that we elect our leaders dramatically. I don't think we're getting the right people in positions of leadership, and we're going down a polarized, power hungry, power driven path that leads us to a bunch of confusion and stagnation. Okay.
So leaders who are educated and do drugs.
Yeah.
That's the solution.
They absolutely should do drugs.
I think that's a good mesh of priorities. Actually, as you spoke, I do have like 8,000 things I want to, but I think we're going to make 15 minutes, so I'm not going to jinx it, and I'm going to hold on.
Okay.
That's a pantheon. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'll look that up later so we don't kill the 50 minutes. Most innovative failure. It was
What?
your most innovative. Was your most innovative failure?
Oh,
Sorry.
my most innovative failure. Oh shit, I didn't think about that one. I've had so many failures, not necessarily innovations. It was probably when I got fired when I worked in New York City. It was my dream salon, my dream job. Finally saved up enough money. I was 24 and I moved there, and I was just going to take over the fucking world, right? And I was doing really good, and I got promoted quick. And then I was there about a year, and they pulled me in the back room and they said, "You no longer work here. We think you're arrogant and you're a one-man show, and you're not a good fit. You're not a good team player. And the clients really love you. You do great at hair. We know you're great with clients, but the staff doesn't like you, and the educators don't like you. And it's, we feel like we're going to read about you in the papers someday, but this isn't the right environment for you." And that was like the most devastating thing that ever happened to me. And I couldn't get out of bed for a week because no one had ever called me arrogant before or said, any of those things to me. It was like I had to completely refigure out my self-identity, because it was like a complete shock. So that caused me to that's a failure. So the innovation I think came from both acknowledgement that a lot of things that they said was actually true. That was the hard part. And then also having to find a new strength within myself. So eventually I ended up opening my own salon for people who were more like me. That was, it's a chair rental, but it's hip, it's collaborative, but it's independent. And that's what 11 Cherry is. And I think that's what finally led me on that path, was like the realization that, I didn't belong there. It wasn't a good fit for me. And I wasn't necessarily a team player. I was an independent person. And then to take that and be like, okay, I can work on being less arrogant, which is still a challenge.
If you called that from New Yorkers, that was pretty freaking impressive. Unless this was like actually Connecticut.
No, this was Manhattan.
Wow.
So
that's impressive. That's almost an innovative failure in itself.
Yeah. You could spin it that way.
That's my skill.
But yeah, it was like, okay, what are, out of these things, like, what are the things I can work on and improve and, broaden myself and learn from and really improve and And then what are the things that I need to be like, you know what, fuck that. I am really good at hair, and I didn't fit in because they actually, they weren't that committed to the craft of hair. They're more committed to, getting clients in really, really fast. So I'm like, okay, what can I do that's special and important? And maybe there are other people like me. So maybe my path is to find other people who need an environment in the same way that I need an environment. So, and that's why I think 11 Cherry is like, it's growing pretty fast right now. And I'm pretty proud of it, and I'm looking for new stylists, and I like what we've done, and I think that that failure turned out to be one of the best things that has ever happened to me. Fuck, I can't believe I'm saying that.
Well, but 11 Cherry isn't just the salon part, right? You've also got some great artists in there, art terrariums in there.
Yeah.
And you have the whole north half now, don't you? I mean, just as a quick, for someone who hasn't been there because they were derelict in their Des Moines duties, what are they missing at 11 Cherry as a whole?
So we have Art Terrarium, which is probably the best small business in town. They have continued to impress me every freaking day I've worked with them. So I kind of snuck in the back door in a sense of that building. It started off being just a furniture store. And the owner let me put a salon chair back there. And then over time, he decided to close the furniture store. So I took over the lease and then built some studios. So Art Terrarium has a very successful plant. They're a very successful plant shop, and they host a lot of events, art themed events. And then I also rent to Farhat Erdem, who's a phenomenal fine artist and is also a professor of architecture at Iowa State. And I started off with two other businesses in there as well, a web designer and a photographer, but their businesses grew. So they actually grew out of the space, and they needed to find a different space for them. So Art Terrarium took over one of those studios, and then the salon expanded and took over the other studio. And then we also have a community space where we have dance parties and an event called Headliner, which is a hair themed event, and all sorts of stuff.
I didn't realize Solar's moved out. Interesting. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
See, well.
Yeah, he added employees, and he's overlooking the sculpture garden now.
Speaking of tax credits, why he's in the Come and Go building?
No. He overlooks the Come and Go building. Yeah, he's like on a hill, kind of above that. So, yeah. So.
Okay, I think, and I may have just done the clock wrong, but we may have made under 15 minutes. This will be to review on the clock. However, if you have time, I've got 1,000 questions for overtime. So this will be the hard stop.